Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the massive window. He had been protecting Earth space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The radar screens showed dozens of huge shapes moving toward Earth. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Sir, we're getting a message," said Captain Lisa Grant from her station on Luna Base. Her voice came through the speakers with worry in it. "It's not like any signal we've seen before." Jake looked at the main screen as strange symbols appeared. Then the symbols changed into words that everyone could read. The message was clear and simple, but it made everyone on the bridge go quiet. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Hegemony. You will surrender your planet to our rule within 72 hours. If you do not, we will take your world by force. This is not a request. This is an order." The message continued. "We have watched your species for some time. You are young and weak. You have no real weapons. You cannot travel between stars. Your governments fight each other instead of working together. You will make good workers for our empire. Do not resist. Resistance will only make your punishment worse." Jake felt his hands shake with anger. He had spent his whole life protecting Earth, and now aliens were telling him to just give up. He pressed the button to talk to all the ships in his fleet. "All vessels, this is Admiral Morrison. Stay calm and hold your positions. We need to think about this carefully." On Earth, President Dan Clark was having an emergency meeting in the White House. Defense Secretary Amy Brooks sat across from him, reading reports from around the world. General Pete Collins was there too, looking at pictures of the alien ships. "How many ships are there?" asked President Clark. "At least 50, Amy said. "Maybe more. They're so big that our computers can't get exact numbers. Each one is the size of a city." General Collins put down the pictures. "Mr. President, I've been in the military for 30 years. I've never seen anything like this. Our best weapons are like toys compared to what they have." President Clark looked tired. He had been president for 6 years, but this was harder than anything he had faced before. "What do our scientists say?" "Dr. Sarah Kim thinks they have energy shields around their ships," Amy said. "Our missiles might not even hurt them, and they have weapons that could destroy our cities in seconds." Just then, Colonel Sam Hayes walked into the room. He was the head of special operations, and he looked different from the others. While everyone else seemed scared, Sam looked almost excited. "Sir, I've been listening to everything," Sam said. "I think we have a chance." General Collins laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "Sam, look at those ships. We don't have faster-than-light travel. We don't have energy weapons. How can we possibly fight them?" Sam sat down and looked at everyone. "That's exactly why we might win. They think they know everything about us. They think we're weak and stupid, but they don't understand humans." "What do you mean?" asked President Clark. "These aliens have been conquering worlds for thousands of years," Sam said. "They probably have a plan that works every time. They show up, demand surrender, and most species just give up. But we're not most species." Amy shook her head. "Sam, this isn't a movie. These are real aliens with real weapons." "I know that," Sam said. "But think about human history. Every time someone thought we were beaten, we found a way to fight back. We're good at making things work that shouldn't work. We're good at surviving when we should die." Meanwhile, on the biggest alien ship, Supreme Commander Krathven was talking to his officers. He was a Vorthak, which meant he looked like a giant lizard that walked on 2 legs. His skin was dark green, and his eyes were yellow. "How long will this take?" he asked Ambassador Zexthal. "Not long, Supreme Commander," Zexthal said. "Our scouts have been watching Earth for years. They have no real military. Their weapons use old technology. They still fight wars with metal bullets and chemical explosives." Krathven looked at the reports about Earth. "They don't even have one government. How can they organize a defense?" "They can't," said another officer. "Most of their cities have no protection from space attacks. They will surrender quickly when they see our power." Krathven had conquered 47 worlds for the hegemony. Each time was the same. The aliens would arrive, show their strength, and the local species would surrender. Sometimes there was a small fight, but it never lasted more than a few days. "What about their space forces?" Krathven asked. "They have some ships. But they're very small, Zexthal said. Their biggest ship is smaller than our smallest fighter. They use rockets that move very slowly. It would take them months to reach even their closest neighbors. Krathvin nodded. Good. We will follow the standard plan. Give them time to think about surrender. When they realize they cannot win, they will give up. Then we can start moving them to the work colonies. Back on Earth, the 72 hours were starting. In cities around the world, people looked up at the sky and wondered what would happen. Some were scared, some were angry, but many were already making plans. In underground, military bases, engineers were working day and night. They were looking at old weapons and thinking of new ways to use them. In computer labs, programmers were trying to understand the alien message and find weaknesses. Admiral Jake Morrison called a meeting with all his ship captains. I know this looks impossible, he said, but we're not giving up without a fight. We're going to show these aliens that humans don't surrender. The alien ships waited in space, confident and patient. They had done this many times before, but they had never met humans before. They had no idea what was coming. The 72 hours had passed. Supreme Commander Krathvin looked at his watch and smiled. It was time to show these humans what happened when they refused the hegemony's generous offer. Begin the attack, he ordered. Target their orbital stations first. Use minimum force. We want to scare them, not destroy everything. The alien ships moved forward like a wall of metal and lights. Their weapons charged up, creating a blue glow that could be seen from Earth. But the aliens had made their first mistake. They thought this would be easy. On Luna Base, Captain Lisa Grant watched the alien ships approach. She was scared, but she was also ready. For 3 days, she had been working with Chief Engineer Matt Cooper and Dr. Kate Williams on something that shouldn't work but might be their only chance. Matt, are the modifications ready? She asked. Matt wiped sweat from his face. He had been awake for 60 hours straight. As ready as they'll ever be. We used pieces from that crashed alien scout ship that fell in Nevada last week. We don't really understand how it works, but we've connected it to our nuclear missiles. Dr. Kate Williams looked worried. This is completely crazy. We're mixing alien technology with human weapons. It could blow up in our faces. Better than doing nothing, Lisa said. She pressed the communication button. Admiral Morrison, this is Luna Base. We're ready to try our surprise. Admiral Jake Morrison was on his ship, watching the alien fleet get closer. His weapons officers looked nervous. Their missiles and lasers seemed like toys compared to the alien ships. All ships prepare to fire, Jake said. Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to survive long enough to learn something. The alien ships fired first. Blue beams of energy shot toward the human orbital stations. But something strange happened. The beams hit invisible barriers around the stations and disappeared. On the alien flagship, an officer turned to Supreme Commander Krathvin with confusion. Sir, our weapons had no effect. The humans seem to have energy shields. Krathvin stared at the screen. That's impossible. Our scouts said they don't have that technology. Maybe our intelligence was wrong, suggested Ambassador Zexthal. Before Krathvin could answer, the human stations fired back. Their missiles looked normal. But as they flew toward the alien ships, something weird happened. The missiles seemed to fade in and out like ghosts. When they reached the alien energy shields, they passed right through. Shields are not stopping them, shouted an alien officer. How are they doing that? The missiles hit 3 alien ships. The explosions were much bigger than they should have been. One alien ship started spinning out of control and another lost power completely. Matt Cooper was jumping up and down on Luna Base. It worked. I can't believe it actually worked. What exactly did we do? Asked Dr. Kate Williams. We took the ADA quantum phase technology from the alien scout ship and attached it to our nuclear warheads, Matt explained. The missiles exist in 2 dimensions at once until they hit something solid. The alien shields can't stop them because they're not completely real. Captain Tony Rivera was flying his fighter squadron toward the alien fleet. His ships had also been modified with alien technology, but in a different way. The alien computers they had found were connected to the human flight systems. This is Phoenix Squadron, Tony said into his radio. Beginning attack run. The alien ships tried to target Tony's fighters, but something was wrong. The human ships were moving in patterns. That made no sense. They would fly straight, then suddenly turn in directions that should have torn the ships apart. The alien computers couldn't predict where they would go next. "Their flight patterns are chaos," said an alien tactical officer. "There's no logic to their movements." Supreme Commander Krathven was getting angry. How can ships move like that? Are their pilots insane? What the aliens didn't understand was that human pilots were used to fighting each other. Human war games were full of tricks and surprises. Captain Tony Rivera had learned to fly by fighting other humans who were trying to outsmart him. The aliens had been fighting species that flew in organized formations for thousands of years. On Earth, Major Alex Turner was preparing for the alien ground forces. Intelligence reports said the aliens would try to land troops in major cities. But Alex had a different plan. "Forget about protecting the cities in the normal way," he told his officers. "We're going to make this as confusing as possible for them." Alex's plan was simple, but crazy. Instead of fighting the aliens in open battles, human forces would hide in buildings, sewers, forests, and anywhere else they could find cover. They would attack and then disappear. They would use the aliens' own weapons against them whenever possible. Dr. Ben Foster was in a secret lab talking to captured alien prisoners. The aliens had been caught when their damaged ship crashed in Canada. Ben was a psychologist who studied how different minds worked. "Tell me about your other conquests," Ben said to the alien prisoner. The alien, whose name was Vexmar, looked confused. "Other species fight with honor. They use formation attacks and organized defenses. When they lose battles, they surrender. Your species fights like wild animals." "Is that bad?" Ben asked. "It's impossible to plan for," Vexmar said. "We have computer programs that predict every battle strategy. But humans do things that make no sense. You fight when you should retreat. You attack when you should defend. You use weapons in ways they were never meant to be used." Ben smiled. "That's because we've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've had to get creative." Meanwhile, in space, the battle was getting more intense. The aliens had more ships and better weapons, but the humans were fighting in ways that confused them. Human ships would team up to attack one alien vessel, then split up and disappear before the aliens could respond. Admiral Jake Morrison was coordinating the defense from his flagship. Reports were coming in from all over the solar system. The aliens were winning, but not as quickly as they had expected. "Sir, we're getting reports from the outer colonies," said his communications officer. "The aliens attacked Mars colony, but our people there used mining explosives to damage 2 of their ships." "What about the Jupiter stations?" Jake asked. "They're using the gas giant's gravity to slingshot missiles at the alien fleet. It's working better than expected." Supreme Commander Krathven was reading battle reports with growing concern. This was supposed to be finished by now. The humans should have surrendered after seeing the alien fleet's power. Instead, they were fighting harder and getting more creative. "How long have we been fighting?" he asked. 6 hours, sir," replied an officer. Krathven had conquered entire worlds in less time. "Send a message to the Hegemony Council. Tell them we need more ships." The message went out across the galaxy, and for the first time in hundreds of years, the Galactic Hegemony was asking for help to conquer a single planet. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens first attacked Earth. What was supposed to be a quick conquest had turned into something no one expected. Captain Nick Logan stood on the bridge of his destroyer, looking at the alien ship they had just captured. "I still can't believe we took a Hegemony cruiser," said his weapons officer, Lieutenant Mike Torres. 2 months ago, we didn't even know aliens existed." Nick smiled. His ship didn't look like a military vessel anymore. Parts of alien technology were welded onto the human hull. Wires and cables ran everywhere. It looked like a mess, but it worked. Better than anything they had before. "Engineering, how's our new engine working?" Nick asked. Chief Engineer Linda Chen answered from below. "The alien drive system is amazing, sir. We can move 3 times faster than before. But I have to warn you, we're mixing human and alien technology in ways that probably violate the laws of physics." "As long as it keeps working," Nick said. "Navigation, set course for the Proxima system. Time to pay our alien friends another visit. The aliens had made a big mistake. They thought capturing Earth would be simple, so they didn't guard their supply lines. Human ships were now attacking alien bases in other star systems. The hegemony had never fought an enemy that could strike back across space. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Eva Price was leading her boarding party through the corridors of a captured alien ship. Her team moved quietly, checking each room for enemy soldiers. "Room clear," whispered Sergeant Bill Murphy. "These aliens really don't know how to fight inside their own ships." Eva nodded. The aliens were used to space battles between fleets. They had never prepared for humans crawling through their ships, taking them over room by room. Human soldiers had learned this kind of fighting in wars on Earth. To the aliens, it seemed like madness. "Ma'am, we found the engine room," reported Corporal Jenny Walsh over the radio. "But there's something weird here. The alien crew is just sitting on the floor. They're not even trying to fight." Eva moved toward the engine room. When she got there, she saw 12 alien soldiers sitting with their hands behind their heads. They looked defeated, but the battle had just started. "Why aren't they fighting?" Eva asked Dr. Tom Bradley, who was with her team to study alien behavior. Tom kneeled down next to one of the aliens. "I think they're in shock. Look at their faces. They've never seen anything like us before." The alien soldier Tom was examining looked up with big, scared eyes. "You fight like demons," the alien said in broken human language. "You attack from everywhere. You use our own weapons against us. How do you learn so fast?" Eva realized something important. They're not used to enemies who adapt. They expect other species to fight the same way every time. Back on Earth, Director Ryan Bell was coordinating resistance fighters around the world. The aliens had managed to land troops in several major cities, but they couldn't control anything outside the city centers. "Report from the European teams," said his assistant, Marie Johnson. "They've captured an alien supply depot in Germany. They're asking what to do with the weapons." Ryan looked at the map on his wall. Red dots showed where aliens controlled territory. Blue dots showed human resistance groups. There were 10 blue dots for every red dot. "Tell them to distribute the weapons to local groups," Ryan said. "The more people who know how to use alien technology, the better." The resistance was working because humans were used to guerrilla warfare. Throughout history, smaller groups had fought larger armies by being unpredictable. The aliens expected conquered species to either surrender or fight traditional battles. They had no idea how to deal with humans who would hide in forests during the day and attack at night. Dr. Claire Davis was in her laboratory, reading through alien computer files they had captured. What she found made her excited and worried at the same time. "General Collins, you need to see this," she said over the secure phone line. General Pete Collins arrived at her lab within an hour. "What did you find, Claire?" Claire pointed to her computer screen. "I've been reading hegemony records for the past 3 weeks. Do you know how many species have fought them for more than 1 week?" "How many?" "0. Every species in their empire either surrendered immediately or was completely defeated within days. We're the first species to fight them for weeks and actually push them back." Collins sat down hard in a chair. "What does that mean?" "It means their entire military system is based on quick victories," Claire explained. "They've never had to fight a long war. They don't know how to handle supply problems, troop morale, or extended campaigns." What Claire had discovered was that the galactic hegemony was like a giant machine designed to crush weak opponents quickly. But humans weren't weak in the way the aliens expected. Every time the hegemony pushed, humans pushed back harder. In the Vega system, news of the human resistance was spreading to other enslaved species. Commander Zixtal of the insect-like Kepler species was talking secretly with his officers. "Is it true that the humans are still fighting?" asked his second in command. "Yes," Zixtal said quietly. "The reports say they've been fighting for 3 weeks. They've captured hegemony ships and are attacking hegemony bases. For the first time in 300 years since their conquest, the Kepler species were thinking about rebellion." Other species throughout hegemony space were having similar conversations. Supreme Commander Krathven was in an emergency meeting with the Hegemony Council. The 7 most powerful species in the galaxy were all asking the same question. How had humans lasted so long? You told us this would take 3 days, said Counselor Vorthak, a floating, jellyfish-like creature. It has been 3 weeks, and we're losing ships every day. The humans are not fighting like a normal species, Krathavan tried to explain. They use tactics that make no sense. They modify our technology faster than we can understand how they do it. Are you saying they're smarter than us? Asked Counselor Mexran, whose species had been in the hegemony for 2,000 years. Not smarter, Krathavan said. Different. They think in ways we've never encountered. When we adapt to one of their strategies, they immediately change to something new. What the Hegemony Council didn't know was that reports of human resistance were reaching enslaved species across the galaxy. For the first time in thousands of years, conquered peoples were wondering if the hegemony could be defeated. On Earth, President Dan Clark was meeting with his military leaders. The situation was still dangerous, but it was better than anyone had hoped 3 weeks ago. How are our casualties, he asked. Lower than expected, replied General Collins. The aliens are having trouble adapting to our fighting style. But Mr. President, we need to think about what happens next. What do you mean? Colonel Sam Hayes spoke up. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. Our actions are inspiring rebellions throughout their empire. This war is becoming something much bigger than they planned. Outside the White House, people looked up at the sky where human and alien ships were still fighting. But now, instead of just trying to survive, humans were beginning to believe they might actually win. 6 months had passed since the aliens first arrived at Earth. Admiral Rachel Stone looked out at her fleet and smiled. Her ships were strange-looking things that no military academy would have approved. Human hulls were welded to alien engines. Earth weapons were connected to hegemony power sources. They looked like they were built in someone's garage, but they worked. Admiral, we're receiving reports from the Kepler system, said her communications officer, Lieutenant Paul Davis. The rebellion there is asking for our help. Rachel nodded. This was the new reality. Humans weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were leading a galactic revolution against the hegemony. Species that had been slaves for hundreds of years were fighting back, and they all wanted human help. Set course for Kepler, she ordered. Time to show the hegemony that their empire is falling apart. The biggest change had come from Dr. Gary Mitchell's research team on Luna Base. They had discovered something amazing about human brains that even humans didn't know. The alien neural interface technology is incredible, Gary explained to a group of military officers. But here's the interesting part. Alien brains can only connect to one system at a time. Human brains can connect to multiple systems and make them work together. Captain Susan Clark was the first human to try the new technology. She sat in a chair surrounded by cables and alien devices. Her head was covered with sensors that looked like a metal cap. How does it feel? Asked Dr. Mitchell. Strange, Susan said. I can feel the alien fighter's computer talking to me, but I can also feel our human navigation system. It's like I'm thinking with 2 brains at once. When Susan flew her first test flight, everyone watching was amazed. Her ship moved in ways that seemed impossible. It could turn like a human fighter, but had the speed and power of an alien vessel. The combination of human creativity and alien technology created something neither species could build alone. We need to get this technology to all our pilots, said General Collins after watching the test. If one human can do this, imagine what a whole squadron could do. Meanwhile, Ambassador Joe Parker was doing something that had never been done before in galactic history. He was meeting with representatives from enslaved species throughout hegemony space. The meeting was taking place on a captured hegemony station that humans had turned into a neutral zone. The Zephyrians want to join the rebellion, said Commander Kickstall, whose people looked like tall, thin birds. But they need weapons and training. The Malari are ready to fight, added General Vexmore, whose species resembled walking trees. Their homeworld has been under hegemony control for 800 years. They're tired of being slaves. Joe looked around the room at dozens of alien species. We'll help everyone who wants to fight for freedom, but we need to coordinate our attacks. The hegemony is strongest when we fight them one planet at a time. The plan they developed was simple but effective. Human ships would attack hegemony fleets while local species attacked ground forces. The rebels would share captured weapons and technology. Most importantly, they would all fight at the same time, making it impossible for the hegemony to focus on any single threat. Back in hegemony space, Supreme Commander Krathven was facing his worst nightmare. His officers brought him reports of rebellions on dozens of worlds. Species that had been peaceful for centuries were suddenly building weapons and attacking hegemony forces. "How many systems are in rebellion?" he asked his intelligence officer. 47 confirmed, sir, maybe more. The humans are helping coordinate the attacks. Every time we send ships to stop one rebellion, 3 more start somewhere else. Krathven looked at the galactic map. Red dots showed rebel activity. There were so many red dots that the map looked like it had a disease. "What about reinforcements?" he asked. "The Council is sending more fleets, but we're losing ships faster than we can replace them. And sir, there's another problem. Some of our own species are starting to question whether this war is worth fighting." This was the hegemony's biggest fear. For 3,000 years they had kept control by making sure their member species never questioned the system. But humans had shown that the hegemony could be defeated. Now even loyal hegemony species were wondering if they were on the right side. Captain Nick Logan was leading a joint human-alien fleet toward the hegemony stronghold at Rigel. His ship was now commanded by a mixed crew of humans, Zephyrians and Molari. They worked together better than anyone had expected. "Human tactics are very effective," said his Zephyrian co-pilot, Wing Commander Kestval. "Your species thinks of strategies that would never occur to us. Your technology makes our strategies possible," Nick replied. "Neither of us could do this alone." The attack on Rigel was different from any battle in galactic history. Instead of 2 organized fleets fighting each other, it was dozens of small groups attacking from all directions. Hegemony commanders couldn't predict where the next attack would come from. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had been studying alien psychology throughout the war. What she discovered changed how humans understood the conflict. "The hegemony isn't evil," she explained to President Clark. "They're just stuck in old ways of thinking. They've been conquering the same way for thousands of years because it always worked before." "What's different about us?" the president asked. "We're the first species they've met that gets stronger under pressure. Every other species they conquered got weaker when attacked. Humans get more creative, more determined, and more dangerous. This was why the war had gone on so long. The hegemony kept using the same strategies that had worked for millennia. But humans adapted to each strategy and then used it against the aliens. Every hegemony tactic became a human advantage." Commander Steve Adams was leading a combined fleet of humans and rebel species toward the hegemony capital world. The plan was ambitious: capture the hegemony council and end the war in one decisive battle. "All ships, this is Admiral Adams," he said over the radio. "Remember, we're not here to destroy the hegemony. We're here to change it. The goal is to capture their leaders, not kill them." This was another thing that confused the hegemony. Throughout history, conquering species either enslaved their enemies or destroyed them. Humans wanted to do something different. They wanted to turn enemies into allies. As Steve's fleet approached the capital, sensors detected the largest hegemony fleet ever assembled. Over 300 ships were waiting to defend their homeworld. "Sir, we're outnumbered 5-1, reported his tactical officer. Steve smiled. 6 months ago, that would have scared me. Now I feel sorry for them. They still don't understand what they're fighting. The final battle was about to begin. But by now, everyone knew this wasn't just a fight between humans and aliens. It was a fight between old ways and new ways, between conquest and cooperation, between fear and hope. Supreme Commander Krathven stood on his flagship, watching the approaching rebel fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he wasn't sure his side would win. The greatest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. Commander Steve Adams looked at his mixed fleet of human and alien ships facing the massive hegemony defense force. But instead of giving the order to attack, he did something that surprised everyone. "Open a communication channel to the hegemony flagship," he said. His communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Bell, looked confused. "Sir, are you sure? They'll probably just threaten us again." "Trust me," Steve said. It's time to try something different. On the Hegemony flagship, Supreme Commander Krathven was shocked when the human message came through. For 8 months, the two sides had been fighting. Now the humans wanted to talk? "This is Commander Adams of the Galactic Liberation Fleet," Steve said. "Supreme Commander Krathven, I want to make you an offer." Krathven's officers looked at each other with confusion. "What kind of offer?" Krathven replied. "We don't want to destroy the hegemony," Steve said. "We want to change it. What if instead of fighting we work together?" The alien bridge went completely silent. In 3,000 years of conquest, no enemy had ever offered partnership instead of demanding surrender. Meanwhile, President Laura Thompson was in an emergency meeting with the Global Council back on Earth. The decision they were about to make would change the future of the galaxy. "Are we really going to offer peace to the people who tried to enslave us?" asked Prime Minister Chen Wei of the Asian Federation. "That's exactly why we should," said President Thompson. "If we just defeat them and leave, they'll probably try to conquer someone else in 50 years. But if we can change how they think, we can end this cycle forever." Dr. Amy Rodriguez was with them, explaining her research. The hegemony species aren't naturally evil. They've been stuck in a system that only values conquest and control. They've never seen an alternative. Back in space, Captain Mark Taylor was commanding a ship with the strangest crew in the galaxy. Humans worked alongside Zephyrians, Malari, and even some hegemony soldiers who had switched sides during the war. "Captain, the human plan is very unusual," said his Vorthak second-in-command Lieutenant Vextal. "In my culture, we always fight until one side is completely defeated." "That's the old way," Mark replied. "Humans learned a long time ago that the best victories are when everybody wins something. What the humans were proposing was revolutionary. Instead of replacing the hegemony with human rule, they wanted to create something completely new. A galactic government where all species were equal partners." Supreme Commander Krathven was talking privately with his closest advisors. "What do you think of their offer?" he asked. "It could be a trap," said his intelligence chief. "Humans are very good at deception." "But sir," said another officer, "look at how they treat their prisoners. They give captured hegemony soldiers food, medical care, and even freedom if they want to join the human cause. No conquering species has ever done that." Dr. Amy Rodriguez had discovered something important about hegemony psychology. They respected strength, but they had never encountered strength combined with mercy. The idea that an enemy could be powerful, enough to defeat them but choose not to, was completely new. On Luna Base, Dr. Gary Mitchell was working on the most important project of his career. The neural interface technology that allowed humans and aliens to share thoughts could be used for more than just controlling ships. It could help different species understand each other in ways that had never been possible. "We're not just talking about translation," he explained to a group of diplomats. "We're talking about actually sharing thoughts and feelings. Imagine if a human could feel what it's like to think like a Zephyrian, or if a Vorthak could experience human emotions." This technology became the foundation of the new alliance. When species could literally understand each other's perspectives, it became much harder to see each other as enemies. The turning point came when an ancient threat appeared at the edge of the galaxy. Long-range sensors detected a massive fleet of robotic ships approaching from dark space. These were the Void Machines, artificial intelligences that had been dormant for millions of years. "They consider all organic life to be a disease," reported Dr. Claire Davis after analyzing the signals. "They're coming to sterilize the galaxy." Suddenly, the war between humans and the hegemony seemed small compared to this new threat. Species that had been fighting each other for months realized they needed to work together to survive. Supreme Commander Krathven made the decision that ended the old galactic order. "All hegemony ships, this is your commander. We are joining the Human Alliance. Our real enemy is coming from the Void." The first joint human hegemony operation was against a Void Machine scouting force. Captain Susan Clark, using her neural interface technology, coordinated attacks between human creativity and alien precision. The combination was devastating to the robotic enemies. "The machines can predict our individual tactics," she reported, after the battle. But when we combine human unpredictability with alien coordination, they can't keep up. Admiral Rachel Stone commanded the defense of the Rigel system when the main Void Machine fleet arrived. Her ships were a mixture of technologies from a dozen different species all working together. "This is what we fought for," she said as the battle began. "Not just human freedom, but the freedom of all organic life. The war against the Void Machines lasted 2 years, but it accomplished something that diplomacy alone never could have. Fighting together against a common enemy, former enemies became true allies. When the last Void Machine was destroyed, the galaxy was a different place. The galactic hegemony was gone, replaced by the galactic cooperative. Every species had an equal voice in decisions. Wars of conquest were replaced by exploration and cooperation. Former Supreme Commander Krathven, now Admiral Krathven of the Cooperative Fleet, stood with Admiral Rachel Stone on the bridge of a ship that neither species could have built alone. "Your people taught us something important," he said to Rachel. "Strength isn't about dominating others, it's about lifting others up." Rachel smiled. "And your people taught us that the galaxy is big enough for everyone to find their place." On Earth, children who had grown up during the war were now adults. They worked alongside alien colleagues in research stations, exploration ships, and colony worlds. The idea that different species should fight each other seemed as outdated as the idea that humans from different countries should automatically be enemies. President Thompson, now in her second term, gave a speech at the dedication of the first interspecies university on Mars. "8 years ago, we thought we were facing the end of human independence. Instead, we found the beginning of galactic cooperation. In the audience, former enemies sat together as friends. Vorthak engineers worked with human designers. Zephyrian artists collaborated with Malari musicians. The galaxy had become something none of them could have imagined when the war began. The Galactic Empire had challenged Earth expecting easy conquest. Instead, they found the catalyst that transformed their entire civilization into something greater than any species could achieve. Alone,